INSPIORATION. Inspiration. Inspiration is defined as stimulation of the mind or emotions to a high level of feeling or activity. Under the realms of inspiration come notions like dreams, hope, and action. They say man can live about 40 days without food, about 3 days without water, about 8 minutes without air, but only 1 second without hope. On this day, at this time, where are we to find hope, inspiration to act upon our dreams? Who has gone before us? Who has looked past their fear to reach their goals?
I'm David Norris. I'm a member of Shannon. I'm on the Foreign Affairs Committee and I taught English for many years in Trinity.
My name is Marie Campion. I work with people with eating distress because I suffered from it myself from very early age and came across so much misunderstanding and so much negativity and so much preconditioning that the condition cannot be recovered, that it's too late, that even in my 30s I was too old, that I decided to use my stubbornness and prove that full freedom does exist. And that later led me to actually spread the hope and the possibility of freedom for everybody, and I started to work in this area.
I'm Colm O'Gorman. I'm from County Wexford and I'm currently the Executive Director of Amnesty International Ireland.
What inspired them? What's their inspiration?
A lot of the time I wasn't necessarily aware of either calling on sources of strength or inspiration, but looking back now, I mean, what I absolutely understand is that there were certain core principles that really mattered to me, and those are around notions like truth, justice, dignity, love, compassion, integrity. I mean in a very human sense, the things that we owe each other, and the great gifts that we can share with each other, the truth for me of what it means to be human and part of a human family. So a belief in those principles, a belief in life as a powerful energy that moves through all of us. I grew up on a farm until I was 11, and I can remember being out in hayfields and lying down looking up at the sun, and just this extraordinary sense of connection with the majesty of life. You know, just this universe, this extraordinary universe that we live in, and how life manifests within it. I mean, everything from the animals that lived on the farm, the wild animals that were around the place, you know, seeds turning into crops, my own family. This sense of life was an extraordinary force, so full of potential, that was boundless, the boundless potential of that. And I was just completely captured by that without ever knowing it. It was very much inherent in who I am. And I suppose then the converse side of that was eventually being able to access within myself my sense of outrage, that we could so insult that capacity within ourselves, that we can so diminish who we are as human beings, what it means to live and to be alive, and the potential that life offers, the potential that our living offers, not just for ourselves but for others around us.
Who inspires them?
My list of people who inspired me is very, very long at the moment, and it was for many years. Actually, it was Colm O'Gorman, and it's my father. And really, I find from international, I find Louise Hay, who, you know, it took a while before I really believed what she was saying, but the more I learned about her, she would be my role model and hero. Her attitude to age, her attitude to life, it's something I always find as a fantastic resource. And every ordinary person on the street, if I'm in a bad mood, I leave the house and I just walk city of Dublin and just look in people's eyes. I find ordinary people and watching people extremely inspiring.
A Swedish diplomat who got himself posted to Hungary in the final days of the war, and armed only with his moral courage, he went in unarmed onto the cattle trains taking the Jews to Auschwitz, defying the Gestapo, defying the SS, and he rescued by issuing Swedish identity cards between 10,000 and 100,000 Jewish people. He saved those individuals from obliteration. And then he was abandoned and left to his own fate when the Russians captured him in 1945. And he lived for many years and probably decades in the Soviet Gulag archipelago. And nobody did a damn thing to help him. I found out about that many years ago, and I campaigned to get him freed, and I believe he was still alive at that stage. And I think that's a real stain on the honour and reputation of Europe and the world.
My really biggest recharging and inspiring things is coming to Howth and listening to the sea, and on the way back or on the way in, listening to the music of Emily Conway. I find her voice so recharging, so full of hope and freedom and inspiration, and I get so many different emotions just to listening to her voice.
Quiet chords from my guitar, floating in the silence that surrounds us. Quiet thoughts and quiet dreams, quiet walks by quiet streams, and a window that looks at our
My father taught me that no matter how far one might have abandoned one's self, it's never too late to reclaim the truth of who you are and to live from that. But what he taught me in the last 10 months that we were able to share together, and they were the most intense 10 months of our relationship as father and son, because we didn't really have one until then, was that heart that was inherent to him was alive and roaring and waiting for an opportunity to express itself, and by God it did. So at 61 he completely changed how he was, not who he was, how he was in the world, in a way that allowed him to be truly who he was in the fullness of himself in the world. And that was just the most inspiring thing. It was 10 months before he died, and even when he knew he was dying, because he had cancer, and all of this predated the diagnosis of his cancer, but even once he discovered 3 weeks before he died that he was dying, he was just extraordinary. And he remains an absolute inspiration to me, and was at the time.
Do they ever experience doubt, and how do they offset their doubt?
I didn't feel doubt, ever. Clearly I had to challenge the church very strongly. But I mean, my first challenges were by simply asking questions. How was this possible? What did you know? What did you not know? Okay, how could that happen? So each time I asked a question, I realised there was another one, and a more significant and a bigger question, and I asked it. I believe there's a solution to every problem, but that doesn't mean that I don't kind of think, oh, good God, this is going to be tough. Or, I don't want to be facile about it. When I made the decision that I was going to sue the Pope, there was a moment where I went, what are you doing? You've no idea how bizarre any of this could get, or what the response might be, or, and people were saying to me, you can't possibly do that. So there were moments of kind of thinking, that's mad, that's ridiculous, you can't, and God, you're one. At that point I was just little old me living in London, getting on with my life and trying to do the best that I could, and realising that this needed to be done, that this was necessary. So there were moments of anxiety in it, because there were big things to do. But actually, when I thought about it, it's like, no, forget all how grandiose this seems. This is an obvious thing to do. This is the right thing to do. This is about the pursuit of truth, the asking of important questions, and then let's see where those answers take us. So I have a very strong and absolute belief in, for me, what is a fact, that if we can establish the truth, our humanity and the goodness that exists at the heart of our humanity will tell us what the next step is.
Do they remain hopeful, and what's their hope for the future?
My hope for the future is that we can become a society that's much more honest with itself, that we're able to be more honest with each other, more forgiving and more challenging of each other, and where we always seek to be all that we can be.
When I look back, I think greatest achievement was to be able to change attitude to life. I wasn't always so calm and so hopeful. And when I change attitude to life, I can say I love life. I really, really love life.
There's a great song by Nina Simone called I Wish I Knew How It Would Feel to Be Free. That captures some of this. Some of it.
Free! I'm free! And I know it! Don't and sing. Sing.
If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, become more, you are a leader.
No.